Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, Spartan Nation. We now bring in the Grand Poobah of SMD Law, the official law firm of the Spartan Nation, Jeff Michalowski. Remember, when your next decision matters, you call them first, and then you act. 866-529-3537 or smdalaw.com on the internet. Jeff, how are you, bud?
Oh, fat and happy, coming off the tail end of the greatest weekend of the year, Thanksgiving weekend, Hondo.
All right. Now, I know that you are I think you're a season ticket holder to the Lions, aren't you?
No, I wouldn't subject myself to that.
What is your thoughts on the Lions, Jeff, honestly? I know you're on here to answer legal questions, but I will love your sports opinion.
Well, if you back up to when we started talking about them in August, my thought process was they were going to go out and surprise us. I'm still sticking to it. They did surprise us. I'm surprised and shocked by just how bad they are. Hondo, I think it's just a matter of they're trying to turn over that roster, and on paper it looked a heck of a lot better than it is. But when they're comparing Coach Caldwell to Coach Patricia, and they're not operating in a vacuum here. The roster's completely been turned over at least 3 times since Caldwell's last year. So you can't compare the two coaches. At this point, I think it might be a bigger mess than what's going on in East Lansing, in that you have a roster with a lot of holes in it, and you got to give it some time to rebuild at this point. That's all I can think of.
No, it's not as bad as East Lansing, Jeff.
Oh, you got to give this roster turnover, at least with the Lions, some time. And in East Lansing, I don't know what's going on. It just looks like it's a fight for power from the university top to the football coach to the assistants to the boosters to the players. It's like a ship without a captain at this point up at East Lansing.
I agree. All right, my friend, let's answer some legal questions. You ready for this one?
Fire away.
Okay, this comes from TB. I'm only using his initials. Dear Mr. Carpenter, last Monday, my wife, at her job, they had a Thanksgiving potluck. My wife made something in which there is a peanut base. Lady at the workplace got sick and is now threatening to sue her for not disclosing it as having peanuts in it. My wife didn't realize she had to. The boss says that my wife should probably... I'm lost here. Can you please get us some direction or some thought? Could you ask Mr. Michalowski? It was a potluck. My wife did something nice, and now she may get sued.
Well, that is a rough one, Hondo. I think that the person should be fined in that she didn't maliciously or put that into place knowingly. But I think sometimes we have to bear a little bit of responsibility on our own. This one hits near and dear and true to my heart. I have a son with a peanut allergy and tree nut allergy. But I'll tell you what, my son, who's 8, has sense enough to ask anybody who brings anything if there are peanuts or nuts in it. And if an 8-year-old can do it, I think we all can do it. So I think we should be okay. On this case, the issue, though, just be a little bit studious. If something does come up and there's a demand letter, call an attorney, see what you can do. You should probably be okay. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. I mean, it sounds like the coworker could have been violently ill, but other than that, count our blessings that nobody became seriously sick or went into shock over the peanut ingestion. But you should be okay on the legal side of things. If something does come up, feel free to call us. Call first, act second.
Jeff, how stupid is it that now people are threatening to sue at company potlucks?
It's insane. You know what? It's going to end up being one of these things where just can't have potlucks anymore. Let's work through lunch.
Ugh. We're talking to Jeff Michalowski from SMD Law, the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Jeff, the next one comes to us from Beverly and John. Beverly and John are a divorced couple with 3 children. And this is what they wrote us this together, though. Beverly and John said, Hondo, could you please ask Mr. Michalowski this question? We are a divorced couple who remains very close personal friends, and neither of us has a complaint about the other as a parent, and we're fine. We are struggling because friend of the court keeps trying to mandate things that were in our divorce that neither one of us wants to do. It seems to not make sense. I realize why friend of the court is there, but we actually get along. Is there something couples can do when they're stuck dealing with friend of the court, but we don't hate each other, we don't dislike each other? In fact, I pay my wife to come to my home to clean it, and she has me come over and do things around the house that I used to do when I lived there. We are still best friends.
Well, at the time of the divorce, there is an option always to opt out of friend of the court services. However, friend of the court is still the arm that will calculate the child payments, the alimony and child support, if need be. But it's up to you then, if you opt out of the service, to make sure that everything is enforced properly. The downside is, if you opt out, you better keep pretty good darn records, because if you don't, it's pretty easy for one side to seek enforcement of something you already paid in cash. It's your word against theirs. So make sure if you opt out of friend of the court, never pay child support payments by cash. Always do by check. Have some kind of paper trail showing that you did that. And if you have questions at any time with family law issues, feel free to call us. What do I say, Hondo? Call first, act second. And Donna Verkis, who is our family law superstar over here, will be happy to help you out.
Okay, the next one comes to us from Christy. Christy says, Dear Mr. Carpenter, I had an interesting thing at work. We all went out to eat dinner and had drinks. My boss asked me if I wanted to go on a date. I did not feel sexually harassed. He did nothing wrong. That's what happens when you go out to eat at an Applebee's together with people. People get asked out. I wasn't mad, wasn't angry. He did nothing inappropriate. However, now at work, it's extremely uncomfortable, and he's made life difficult for me to the point that even others have noticed. I don't want to sue. I think it's ridiculous that nowadays people sue for sexual harassment all the time. I just don't think I should be punished because I said no to a date. What's the best way of handling this? Mr. Michalowski seems to be a guy that doesn't want to sue, and if I attempt that and have to, how would I sue?
Well, this, Hondo, sounds like a classic textbook example of sexual harassment. It wasn't really harassment, but it's a person in power asking somebody out. So, there's going to be an implied consequence if you say yes or if you say no to that. It shouldn't happen in the workplace or outside of the workplace. This is why you're supposed to have mechanisms in place at the workplace through your HR department. If it is a small business, it's a little bit harder to enforce these types of things. Maybe the best way to do it would have a discussion with the person, open door during your normal business hours. Don't put yourself in a position where it could escalate. I would try to work it out first. But if there is already a company mechanism in place to report these things, you might have to start reporting it and see where it goes.
Okay, the next one, I'm not going to use a name or city, but they're from the state of Michigan. Says, Dear Mr. Carpenter, I have a question for Mr. Michalowski. My wife was going through a difficult time in her life, and I secured her to see, I don't know if this is a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but a mental doctor at the hospital is what they put. While seeing my wife, he sent her emails encouraging her of his sexual interest in her and pursued her, and they ended up for 3 years having a sexual relationship. We are now divorced. However, my wife and I still maintain a very good relationship. The relationship ended after 9 years, multiple of which he was seeing her as a patient. She felt like she was almost pushed into the relationship by him for getting help. Would she have grounds here for a lawsuit?
I think there would be grounds. There are statutes in place actually that prevent like a patient-physician relationship. Again, this person is a person of power, a person of trust, and they overstep those bounds. Professionally, there are probably repercussions. In addition to civil action, there probably are, and also maybe criminal penalties for violation of the patient-physician relationship. So definitely look into it. There might be something there that we could help you out with. Not myself, but probably one of my partners would be able to help you out. Again, just feel free to call the number.
He is the great Jeff Michalowski from SMD Law, the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. 866-529-3537. SMDAlaw.com is where you find him on the internet. We'll be back.